I'm Dr. Arkham, and I wanted to talk a little bit today about something I did last weekend. I went to the local art museum. Now, I love going to art museums because they give me so much inspiration. Just seeing what other people have done and the way they've interpreted the world around them. It's just so inspiring. And I really quite enjoy just staring at the different pieces of artwork. I really like when they have visiting exhibits because oftentimes those are artists that are currently working. I love that because I get to see what people are doing now and how people who live in the same version of the world that I live in are communicating how they feel about the world and how they see the world through their art. And it's just so cool. When I went this weekend, there was a particular exhibit that was open. It was a visiting exhibit. Some current artists were showing. And it was a really inspiring, really unique exhibit. It was kind of for kids, but kind of for everyone in the way that the best exhibits that are for kids are also for everyone. But what it was all about using recycled materials or using the materials that you have available to you. Everything was made of fabric or recycled plastic. It was very, very sculptural, and the guests were encouraged to interact with it. So there were pieces where the whole point was to feel the texture. There were these botanicals made out of fabric and wire that they looked like crazy quilts. It was so cool. And there was a garden bed that you could go and pull plants out of the garden, and these were plants made out of fabric and recycled plastic, and some of them were plants, some of them were aliens or something else, little creatures. So you could go harvest the garden. And then over in another section there was a giant cheeseburger made of fabric and plush, and it was in layers, and you could layer the cheeseburger yourself. Big. And like all of these interactive things. There was like a bead hanging curtain that you could go through, and it was just really cool and really very, very much up my alley. I love that kind of thing. First of all, I like art that's for kids that's also for everyone. I think that's a really good genre. But I also like soft art that you can interact with. Very crafty, almost. It reminded me of some things that I've made in the past. So I made a set of crayons that are about 3 feet long, made of fleece and plush, and I made a 8 set, a box of 8, and bright colors, and I love how those came out. They're so cool. And at some point I'm thinking I would like to make a quilt that goes with them. So the idea would be that it would be this big quilt, and it would have squiggly patterns on it in all of the different colors of the crayons. So the idea being that you could lay out the quilt and then hold one of the crayons and pretend that you were coloring that line. I've also made, those beaded keychain things that were popular in the 2000s and such? The little lizards and things where you take pony beads and you thread the thread through them, the yarn, and you make a little keychain. I have seen people on YouTube, on Instagram, on the internet who make giant versions of those. I've seen them make them with pool noodles, cut them into bead size and thread some rope through. I know there's at least one artist out there who makes them ceramic and makes these beautiful, beautiful ceramic wall pieces that look just like the little beaded keychains that we made at summer camp. But I wanted something soft, something interactable, something much more like a pillow. So I made a fish and a dolphin set for me and my sister to do together, and I made all of the beads out of fleece and polyfill, and man, that took forever. That took so long. After I made the first 5, I was like, this is going to take me forever, and it was so hard for me to actually get myself to make all the rest of them. It was a project that I wanted to give my sister as a gift in, say 3 months, and it ended up taking 2 years. But it came out really good. It came out really cool, and we used some big fluffy yarn as the yarn to thread through and make the creatures, and they came out really cool, and they're really funny as pillows because they're very lumpy, but I think they're adorable. And that's also not the first fish pillow I've ever made, because if you didn't know, fish are my thing and I love them and I put them in my art all the time. But I was studying Atlantic halibut at the time for my master's, and the legal size for Atlantic halibut where I was 41 inches. And so I thought, what a good idea it would be to make an anatomically correct halibut that's legal size. So I did. I made a halibut pillow out of fleece and polyfill, and I think it came out so cool. I didn't put enough polyfill in it. It's a little bit flat, but it's a halibut, which is a flatfish, so that's okay. But I absolutely love how the fins turned out. I was learning how to use my sewing machine, and I just think it came out so cool. But when I was at the art museum last weekend and I was seeing this interactive art, this fabric sculptural texture art, it reminded me of these things that I had made, and it really inspired me. And just the idea that everyday objects, whether, a plant outside or a crayon or a cheeseburger, they can be art, and they can be stories, and they can be fun, It was just a really good way, I think, to communicate appreciating what you have and the world around you, even in the simplest things. In the most commonplace things, or in things that might be garbage. If we take all of these recycled bottle caps, it's a pile of garbage, but we could turn it into something really beautiful and creative. And I just really loved that, and I thought that was an excellent message, and it certainly inspired me. I want to make my own fabric plants because I think that would be really cool, and they'd be less likely to die than the real plants that I try to keep around. But anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. I encourage all of you to go to an art museum if you can. Highly recommend it. I had a lovely time at the one local to me, and I very likely will visit it again sometime. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, goodbye.